that's a long panel name, so we're going to go by RTAP as we always do. First off, I sincerely want to thank everyone for your continued attendance and participation in our RTAP, which of course serves as a advocacy group for how we continue to strengthen and expand public transportation in the Hampton Roads region. Before we go any further, we always like to start off our RTAP meetings with some introductions. But before we go around the table and do that, just a couple of real quick items. So this will be your first time to drive our new sound system here at the regional building. So you'll see that when you look down, you'll see your little person button there to the right. When you push it and it goes red, you are live. Okay, and what I would ask is after you're done speaking, one thing to keep in mind, it's working really well for us, but with any systems, if you could adjust the gooseneck mic and so that it is right in front of you, that way, keep in mind we are live streaming and we want our audience members at home to be able to understand the meeting and participate in that discussion. Secondly, when you move, if you feel the need to move your microphone, you don't want to grab it by the gooseneck because it comes unattached here. If I could ask if you could just simply grab it by the side, you can move it back and forth as you'll need. And then lastly, you will notice once we get into the PowerPoints, we have two brand new projection monitors. The old ones use the bulb technology. These are laser, they're high definition, so we're thinking that not really looking forward to seeing your slides up there, right? But for all the presenters today, I hope you'll agree that people like me that maybe can't see the fine tuning in some of the older projections, this is a lot crisper and better for our audience members. So I will serve as your chair again today as normal. Again, my name is Bob Crum. I'm your executive director here at the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission and the Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization. So what I'd like to do is go around to my left, just ask everybody to begin by your name and who you're representing today.
Good afternoon. My name is Pavitra Parthasarathi, and I'm the Deputy Executive Director from the Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization.
Good afternoon. A little bit easier. I'm Matt Scalia, Executive Director of the Williamsburg Area Transit Authority. What a guy.
I can't follow that up. Ben Goodall, Director of Planning and Administration for WADA.
Another what a guy.
I'm Maria Tukowski. I'm the Transit Manager for the City of Suffolk. I represent Suffolk Transit.
Happy Monday. With Dr. Claudine Kizard from Tidewater Community College, serve as the Director of Student Success Initiatives.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Janice Taylor. A list of organizations, but primarily today the League of Women Voters and Paratransit.
Good afternoon, everyone. Harvey Waters, Novel President in ACP.
Karen Kitsis, HRT.
Good afternoon, Sandra Brandt with Step Up Incorporated, Executive Director.
Megan Gribble, City of Portsmouth, Transportation Planning.
Ellen Milan, Board Member of VBHA.
Good afternoon. I'm Diane Kaufman, Regional Director for U.S. Senator Tim Kaine. Thank you.
And I'm Rob Case, Chief Transportation Engineer here at the HRTPO.
Good afternoon, Avery Darty with the Department of Rail and Public Transportation. Good to be with you.
Steve Zolas with Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia, CEO.
Hey there, I'm Joanne Short. I'm the President and CEO of the Planning Council.
Mark Perryman, Norfolk Airport Authority, President and CEO.
Good afternoon, Mark Gdoldig-Yatrovsky, Citizen at Large.
Good afternoon, I'm John Wiley. I serve on WHRO's Emerging Leaders Board.
Keith Moore, Senior Vice President, Virginia Wesleyan University.
Good afternoon, Todd Hallisey, Deputy Director for the Hampton Roads Transportation Accountability Commission.
Good afternoon, Andrew Pease with Arcadis.
Steve Florian with Hampton Roads Transit.
Good afternoon. I'm Marcellus Nixon at the Southside Network Authority.
Good afternoon. Tracy Wright, Virginia Peninsula Community College, where I serve as director of our historic Triangle campus.
Good afternoon, Commander Chief, Soup Ship Newport News.
Peter Shaw, retired Professor Emeritus of Business Administration, Tyler Community College. And thank you for the new booklet you just handed out.
So if anybody would like, well, it looks like you have them all at your places, the little book of big data. Take a look at that. Fits very handily in your sports jacket pocket or in your purse or carrying bag. Some great demographic data snapshots for the Hampton Roads region. I saw Linda Peck just join us. She'll had to step out. She'll be coming back in. Hi, Linda. Didn't mean to call you out there. Linda, would you mind just a quick introduction?
Hi, Linda Peck, Radar Norfolk Corporation.
Very good. And can we just go around the room so everybody knows who's in the room, please? Jeff? Fantastic. Chris, step on in here, Chris. This is the guy that makes it happen. But Chris Finet is who sets up our meetings, makes certain we're well fed, keeps everything running. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you doing it. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. Now, a few formalities, but as you all know, these meetings work the best at RTAP when you're the ones doing the speaking. We don't like to do long, drawn-out presentations. I don't like to tie you up in bureaucracy and knots. This is all about open conversation and getting your ideas for how we move, support, strengthen, expand transit in the Hampton Roads region. But as a public body, I do have a couple of quick formalities I need to get out of the way. First is approval or modification of the agenda. You'll see the big items we have on today's agenda. First off, we're going to hear from our friends at WADA. WADA is going to give you an update on some things happening with their transit system up on the Upper Peninsula. From there, our friends from the Department of Rail and Public Transportation are going to talk about the Virginia Breeze to Tidewater, plans for that bus service that they're beginning to plan for rollout in our region. Then we're on to hearing our consultants with Hampton Roads Transit are going to talk about something that the RTAP discussed at your last meeting, which is a unified fare system study for Hampton Roads. And then we're going to wrap the formal part up with a discussion of emerging regional legislative priorities as we get ready for the General Assembly in Richmond, which is going to start happening here in January. And then at the end, probably one of my favorite parts of every meeting, we go around the room for each of you to take a chance to share something that you've observed or experiencing about public transit in the Hampton Roads region. I do need to ask if there's a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Moved. Peter Shaw, a second. Second. Ben, all right, very good. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, public comment. Anyone in the audience who would like to address the RTAP today? Okay, seeing none, we do have the minutes from the last meeting included in your agenda distribution as attachment number 4. Could I have a motion to approve those summary minutes as presented? Linda, very good. We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Fantastic, thank you. All right, well, let's get to it. WADA, we hit Matt. I know you've got a PowerPoint. Rob has it called up for you and Ben,
Yes.
and I'm looking forward to your briefing today.
All right, now this one here, I'm sure I'll turn this one on. Oh, it's on. Okay. All right. There we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Again, I'm Matt Scalia with WADA. Ben Goodall is our Director of Planning and Administration. So next 10 minutes, keep the slides and allow some time for some Q&A. I got a lot going on up there, WADA. Pretty excited to share with you. First, just kind of looking broadly here overall at our numbers. I am proud to say that right there exceeds our FY19 pre-COVID numbers. Now, that includes our route through Colonial Williamsburg, which we took on a couple of years ago. But even subtracting that, and even considering that we're running fewer operating hours than we used to, our ridership has increased. Very, very proud of that, and I think it's just good signal of where we want to be going and investing in public transit. Our fleet itself, you see, we run primarily clean diesel, but we do have compressed natural gas. It operates very well for us. Currently, we have it strictly just through Route 15 Colonial, through Colonial Williamsburg. We do have 4 more CNGs on order, and we'll be able to extend that low emissions fleet through more of our service area. And we do run our own in-house paratransit service. Okay, we don't contract it out. Those are our team members, our operators, and that unlike the fixed route, ridership for paratransit spiked during COVID, and it has not dropped. So that is a current challenge for us right now, is trying to really identify the demand, and then are we going to have to put more resources, operators, and more paratransit buses into service. You see, like so many other agencies, most of our funding comes from federal and then state grants. All right, local you can see at about 16%. And then the other fares, the contracts we have with Colonial Williamsburg Foundation, with William and Mary, advertising, things of that nature. So then here to the lower left, I'll show you we have the partnerships with the college and CWF. CWF, we're running their service on a 6-year contract now. Their contributions are dropping every year, meaning the localities are having to contribute a little more every year. Whereas with the college, we just pretty much renegotiate every year what service they want, and we give an updated cost. Of note, they've increased their service because by demand by the students, we run later for the college than we do any other place for our route. So service hours are, we start at 7 and we run to 11, and that's Monday through Friday. Okay, our normal operating hours Monday through Saturday are 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and then Sundays 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Okay, we don't run on the weekends right now for the students. Okay, next I'm going to talk about our strategic plan we call Evolving WADA. And you see there in the 3 phases, we have not implemented phase 1 yet due to lack of funding, but I am going back to my 3 municipalities to look for a mid-year budget amendment to implement in January. The holdup primarily was, I couldn't implement it in a July because I didn't have the operators. As I failed to show in the last slide, we are 100% in operators right now. And that, obviously, what a big difference that makes. And still getting more applicants. So we can, I believe by January, have the workforce we need to implement phase 1. What is phase 1? Phase 1, you can see the main arteries of our service area are Route 60. So that's Richmond Road in the north part and Pocahontas Trail connecting with HRT at Lee Hall. Currently, it's 60-minute frequency, not really good for anybody. 30-minute frequency during morning and afternoon peak hours. Phase 1 will be 30-minute frequency all day. Phase 2 will be 30-minute frequency on 2 of our next major routes, Merrimack Trail, Route 3, and Moortown Road, Route 7. Again, 30-minute frequency for those. There will also be some important rerouting of Route 11 to extend to the Yorktown Courthouse. Okay, and improving that frequency from 90-minute, really not convenient for anyone, to 60-minute, with better connections with Route 1 and Route 3, because it'll just be a much usable, convenient route. And then lastly, phase 3 is 15-minute frequency on Route 12, really connecting the train station transportation center to Newtown, what we call Ironbound, if you're familiar with the area. So, lots of shops, lots of shopping, lots of employees, movement, students, faculty, residents, et cetera, on Route 12. Okay, that is our strategic plan. A lot of good public input for it, but it's going to need resources from the municipalities to really make it happen. We've applied and received a TRIP grant from DRPT. Thank you, Avery, for the help, which will help alleviate those costs for the first 4 years. But then after that, municipalities will own it. I'm confident at that point they will see the value the increase in frequency has for the community, and they will continue to invest. And hand it over to Ben to talk some of our other big initiatives.
So public transportation is no good if we don't have access to it, right? So one of the things that WADA has focused on here recently is $1 million plus overhaul of all of our onboard technologies. And included in that is our mobile ticketing system. So back in 2023, we partnered with Masabi as part of this overhaul of onboard technologies, really looking to provide mobile ticketing to the public here. And the upside for them is, really, again, that access piece. But then any tickets purchased through the app, we have account-based ticketing. And what account-based ticketing includes is fare capping. So for those of you that aren't familiar with that term, essentially what it is if you're buying a 30-day pass for, let's say, $40 or single-day passes at $3, you can buy single-day passes up until you hit that $40 threshold, and then it will automatically become a monthly pass. So there's some benefit in terms of overall cost and ways to purchase those longer-term passes here. So those tickets are all purchased through our transit, and that is an international mobile application. So anyone coming to town to visit, we feel may already have experience with the app, may already have it downloaded on their phone, not asking them to learn too much new there. And then really what this also provides is community-wide. We have partner portals, vendor portals, which allow tickets to be sold both at other locations through partner agencies, whether it's like Mr. Scalia mentioned, the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation or the College of William and Mary. But being able to partner with them and have them kind of distribute their own tickets based on need, certainly very helpful in how we get this information out there and the different levels of effort that we have to go through. Lastly, on the customer side of things, we also have Incom Network, which we're getting ready to roll out here in the near future. But what Incom Network allows is then if you're walking around on your mobile phone and you're trying to buy a ticket, you can go into a convenience store and they can scan that barcode and you can actually pay for it right there as part of a overall purchase, whether you're getting an additional drink or whatever. So being able to have that rollout, 7-Elevens, Walgreens, CVS, having that access through all these different outputs to be able to use the transit system. So really excited to have this up and running right now. We are currently pulling in over $10,000 a month in mobile ticketing revenue. So happy to see that adoption rate continuing to climb as we get this underway. So that's our mobile ticketing platform. It was one of the ads in this process, along with infotainment, just providing that real-time information to our passengers. Secondly, here, currently under construction, we have 2 facilities. Our operations and maintenance facility is a rehabilitation and expansion project. So we are about $25 million in terms of overall project cost. But what that means for us is we're looking at that 40-year planning outlook, so increased administrative space. We're building a new set of expansion maintenance bays, and then the way the plan is laid out, we've actually built in the potential for additional maintenance expansion later on. So really thought through the process here to try and provide our operators and staff the amenities that we need to continue to grow, and as we implement these new services, that we can keep up with the needs of our rolling stock. The second project here is our WADA North Transit Center. And that project is about $11 million in total project cost. So our focus there is in the north part of our system, we currently have 4 routes that meet and connect at a Walmart parking lot. And so in order to be able to provide our riders with the amenities and the convenience that we think they deserve, we're going to put some money into getting this North Transit Center open. And through the technology overhaul as well, being able to provide real-time information right there on site through digital signage, digital displays, and then really having a nice place where passengers can wait out of the rain, out of the wind, out of the cold, as well as being able to provide for our own staff, places to use the restroom, a place to sit down and take a break, some additional office space. So really just a good multi-use space here. And between these 2 projects, we are funded through a variety of different grants and funding sources. So right now, I think we've got around 20 different grants, which are funding these 2 projects. And they're being funded through a variety of CMAQ funding, RSTP, CDS, which is our congressional discretionary funding, and then through the merit program, as well as 5339 bus and bus facilities funding. So a couple of exciting projects here. We're currently looking at both of these being open sometime in fiscal year 27 here. So really excited to invite you all to the ribbon cutting once we get to that point. With that, that's a couple of the things that we've got going on here, just in terms of recent successes and implementing a couple major projects for us here.
Happy to take your questions.
All right, any questions for WADA? Yes, Steve?
Does your paratransit run the same times as your general operations?
Yes, sir, it does.
Out of curiosity, you mentioned getting information from your constituents. And what method did you use to ensure that you had equitable information from all of your constituents? Out of curiosity.
Was that from the strategic plan slide?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we had a consulting group that really handled that portion of the process. But what they did is they went out and through all the onboard surveys, collected some demographic data through that survey, and then compared that to the demographic data of the region. And so measured the equitability against those statistics from the region.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So another hand, Rob?
Yeah, Ben, you may have said, but with that transfer center, will that change your routing?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, Rob. It certainly will. So the 4 routes that connect currently at Walmart will be restructured. We're actually getting ready to start that process now. Had a little bit of conversation about it internally, but we'll start to reach out for public comment. Some initial concepts will go out. And so getting ready to roll that process out now, but the expectation that this will open summer of next year gives us plenty of time to kind of go through that outreach and put a solid plan in place.
And to that, we will follow much the same methods, make sure we get input across all demographics. It will change, but minimally. In fact, I think there's more opportunities for us as we reroute, be able to reach some places we just can't right now, because the new WADA North Transfer Center is not too far from the Walmart anyway.
Matt, I'm coming to my next one. You had mentioned your success in getting bus drivers. And, I know one of the issues region-wide has been finding bus drivers to be able to do the type of transit expansion that we have funded to do. Can you talk a little bit about how you were successful and
charm and personality, sheer charm. I wish I had a more kind of firm answer. Because our pay is not the highest in the industry. We did get a good bump the previous year. We were part of a compensation study with James City County. So that did give a fair bump. I don't think we have it quite right yet. I still think we're a little bit low for the industry and other professions or jobs. I know even some jobs that don't require the same skills and certifications as ours are paying still a bit more. The feedback we get from our team is, I think we benefit from being a smaller organization. They get to know one another pretty well. There's a pretty collegial atmosphere where people are willing to fill in, take some of the extra hours when other people call out. So I think that's a huge benefit to us. And the area is pretty nice. The area is pretty nice. I mean, I think the routes are generally, pretty good routes that don't face too many challenges. I mean, we've got our problems and challenges, but they're not pervasive in terms of troubled riders or things of that nature.
Could I ask Suffolk HRT, are you seeing success, or is this still a challenge for you in terms of finding the drivers?
We're actually doing really well with drivers too.
Okay.
We do have a pretty constant stream of, they're always attempting to hire. So if a person brings in an application, they'll be willing to interview that person. So it's one of those things that's kind of ongoing, but in terms of what we have, we've been very lucky. We were able to maintain service all through COVID and all of that. And we have been able to keep what we've had. We have 8 full-time drivers that we have with Suffolk, and that's newer because it used to only be part-time. So with that, having 8 full-time drivers, that helps. And it does sometimes, we're a small community too. So some of the drivers know each other really well. The passengers know the drivers really well. So it's almost this kind of family base that happens. And so you do have those people that are willing to kind of step in to help when needed, and all of those kinds of things kind of help with all of that. But being a smaller system gives you some advantages to when you only have a handful of routes that you need to cover on a daily basis.
Right. Thank you. HRT?
Yes, we're kind of a little bit on the, I think we have some of that, a family feeling too, particularly for folks who have been in one of our 2 bases. But we have struggled, not so much with getting people in the door, but having people stay on board. And a lot of that has had to do with mandatory overtime that we've had in place for a while, where folks have to work 6 days a week. And so that's very difficult. One of the things that happened is because of that is we'll have folks call out, particularly on a Monday. And so we end up with more missed trips than we would like. Something we started piloting in September after Labor Day, I think, was not requiring mandatory overtime. And we have seen some good responses from that. So much so that we're going to continue it till the end of the year. The number of missed trips has not dramatically increased. There's been one of the days that we had our pick, where the drivers come in and pick. We had more people off that day. But in fact, it was reported last week at our O&O Operations and Oversight Committee that 18 folks that had quit over that have come back and applied. And so we're crossing our fingers that this can enable us to steady our workforce so we can continue to have people come in. They've looked at other ideas and we'll continue to pursue those. But that's been our biggest struggle is having folks stay, more than 12 to 18 months when it just becomes untenable with that type of schedule. So we're hopeful that along with some other efforts we're doing, we can implement some routes that or some additional service that we would like to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Quan, did you have
You asked my question about.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Just as a quick follow-up, for WADA, as far as the CDL, are you providing prospective operators with that training, and how does that work for you?
We do. It's about a month training. They have to get their air brakes test and have their permit beforehand. But then they come on board, we get them the full license. It's about a month to get them the license and then train them on all our routes. So, some investment there. We had a challenge with retention of new hires. So this time last year, I think, looking a year back, our retention of new hires is only 20%. Horrible. We're at a really steep 60% now, right? Not great, but hell of a lot better than 20%. And again, I attribute that to it's good training. You hear good feedback from the trainer, and then good mentorship and coaching to help ease them into the programs.
Other questions for WADA? Yes, please.
Hi, I have a couple of questions along the same mindset. What about funding resources? Did you reach out to Walmart to ask them for any type of funding?
I have not reached out to Walmart for specific funding. What I'd like to see is, public transit, we can't compete with charter bus companies, right? I mean, that's certainly when we're receiving federal funds. So we got to stick to fixed routes. But there are some routes that can be, seasonal fixed routes, if you will. So we have Virginia 250 next summer, right? We're expecting, 3 million tourists coming next summer for the historic triangle, right? Hampton, Virginia Beach, love you guys, but they're coming for Williamsburg, Jamestown, and Yorktown, okay? I want to be part of the solution. I want to set a special route hitting just those 3 locations, no stop in between. I'm trying to find the funding. I'm not going to get it from municipalities. I'm trying to work with Visit Williamsburg. They've shown interest, trying to get with the Virginia 250. The 2 foundations don't have it in their budget, but I'll pass a hat around if I need to. But I think it would be a great opportunity, at least for next summer, if not enduring for the summer months.
What about hitting the Chamber of Commerce and getting a listing of all the businesses there? Another thing to look at is Chase Bank is coming to a lot of the areas. Maybe you can have them take ads on the buses and advertise the upcoming historical events. They want to be in it. They like banks like money.
Banks do like,
So
yes.
advertise on a bus and see if they would give some type of incentive for people to open up accounts, and that would help your funding sources.
I appreciate that, and knowing they're coming in the area, I'll have our advertising company reach out to them for advertising opportunities. We have good connections with the hotel association, with the restaurant association, with the realtors for advertising opportunities, and with the Virginia 250 coming, where we're going to be advertising a bus design competition. Get people to submit artwork to wrap our buses in for next year, and I think that'll get a lot of interest in our service. But I appreciate those suggestions.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right. Matt, Ben, thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, appreciate you being here. All right, let's move on. I asked our DRPT partner to come on up. The Virginia Breeze Tidewater bus connection and opportunity it presents for Hampton Roads certainly is exciting, and we just really much, Avery, appreciate you being here today to provide us the latest and what the path forward looks like.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Can everybody hear me okay? Is it good? Okay. It sounds very different up here. No, thanks again. Just very excited for the Tidewater Current route. Just for, I guess, to frame this, intercity bus plays an important role for the Commonwealth, and obviously DRPT, as well as a lot of our stakeholders, do take a vested interest in what this has done and the success that it's been throughout the Commonwealth so far. So we're very excited about the 5th installment. We did launch our first route back in 2017, and time really has proven to show quite a bit of need. We have seen, just in quick summation, a very interesting national change in intercity bus, and we're very happy to be one of the stories of successes and building riderships and looking continued to the future of what we can provide, but also looking at the valuable partnerships that the private industry has with this. The Commonwealth in no way competes with our private partners. So it is about trying to bring a value to the Commonwealth and keep our intercity bus industry and connectivity to the national network strong. So with that, just a quick introduction. My name is Avery Daugherty. I've been with DRPT going on 6 years, and I've had the privilege of managing the Virginia Breeze service since I've started, and very excited about this. This is going to be a personal achievement, I think, for me with the launch of this. I did grow up in Suffolk, and fondly am working very closely with HRT as a program manager. So I very much value this and know the area very well, and certainly am excited about it. Oh, I went too far. There we go. So real briefly, in terms of procurement updates, I do have to say we really can't go into lock in exact dates or anything like that at this point. It still very much is an active procurement, although I can say that we are very, very close in rounding the corner and awarding a contract, although I can't tell you exactly when that's going to be, but am very much anticipating that being very soon. So you might note, one correction in the agenda, although I definitely am hoping for the next several, that we will finish that in the next several weeks. But really, I guess our goal is to find the best value going through the negotiations. We feel very confident in our two remaining vendors, and more information to come on that very soon. Wish I could talk a little bit about that more, but do be on the lookout for hopefully some information to be revealed on that soon. I did want to talk a little bit about the work that's already been underway so far. This has been about a year and a half, I want to say, of work so far. We launched a study in, I believe it was the early parts of 2024, and concluded that study for unmet need throughout the Commonwealth, and identified the I-64 corridor as a major area that has critical unmet need for intercity bus, specifically connecting that Shenandoah Valley region to parts of Hampton Roads. Obviously, there's great connectivity and options for folks that are traveling from Hampton Roads into DC, but not so much when you get past Afton Mountain. So I think that this route was both off of that, but some bus stop locations that we have already secured, and by that I mean have obtained permission to be able to stop and have found a suitable location, all subject to approval once we have our bus operator confirmed, logistically, making sure that they're okay with these areas. But we feel pretty good with them. A lot of them have already been established with other routes, such as Harrisonburg and Stanton, Charlottesville, and our downtown Richmond Main Street Station location. We have spoken and met with the airport, and they're very welcoming in Richmond to have us stop there as well. So we think that that'll be a very quick on and off, and serve a pretty important need for folks throughout this corridor to either save on parking or maybe just avoid the traffic altogether. You may see some folks that take it that just have avoided flying because of traveling from various areas to get to the airport. So excited to see that. And then, of course, in New Kent, a critical rural area, obviously you want to watch your speed going down the I-64 gap, but we are excited to have that, and the location that we're, at least for now, going to be launching from will be the Rosie's Gaming Emporium at Colonial Downs. And then in terms of the stops yet to secure, and I will say that these are very much underway. With about 60% of the bus stops already secured, we knew that going into this, before we selected a contractor, that we had to do some work, critical work ahead of time, various discussions with our stakeholders in these communities. We're pretty confident that we have nailed down the Williamsburg location, although we are still seeking official permission from the city, respectively, for the Williamsburg Transportation Center. And we think it's going to be a great asset. Newport News, we also feel very good about this location. We did speak very early on, including HRT and the HRTPO, and they provided their endorsement of that location as well. So we're very much anticipating being able to get official permission to access that. Norfolk, we're still doing some scouting. It's to be determined. We are looking at several different areas. Probably the one that we are focused on the most, but are obviously still trying to go through some logistics on, would be that Amtrak connectivity. But that's a very busy area with construction, and we're keeping our options open. We definitely will need some help from our contractor once that's in place to help us continue that scouting and lock up securing a suitable site. And in Virginia Beach, we have engaged with several discussions with the city. We are looking at the Oceanfront Visitor Center as a possibility. We think that that'll be probably one of the better locations, just for multiple reasons and access, not only to the HRT transit system for that last mile, but also for accessibility to that community. And I talked a little bit about stakeholder coordination with municipalities. There's definitely going to be much more of that underway and continued. In terms of outreach, we have done a lot of outreach kind of behind the scenes. We've done some scouting of various local businesses that once we advance further into this process, we definitely want to make sure that they know and we can share our information, especially as we round the corner, award our contractor, secure our permissions, and then work on our schedule, just so they know about the service and they can get the word out. There are a lot of passengers we found that have utilized the Virginia Breeze for shorter distances, some to get to work and then finding an alternate or local transit path back, just because it works for their schedules. And then, of course, various community organizations and community development. But again, the emphasis there would just be to continue that long-term partnership and community impact. So if it's not working for a certain area, we want to be mindful of that. We're large and a rolling billboard, so we want to make sure to stay out of the way and not jeopardize any sort of operational impact. Example would be WADA, our friends there, with that transportation center we've been looking at. And just some remaining tasks before our launch. Obviously, we've got to select that operator. And those critical bus stops that we are thinking that we're going to need to spend the most time in, being Norfolk, probably many more site visits and testing of different locations. Stop infrastructure and signage. This is something that we work very closely with the municipalities to see what we are able to have, but some of it in terms of these areas could be as simple as just obtaining necessary permitting and putting a sign on an existing pole or shelter, and then finalize that route time schedule. We have developed some concepts that our selected operator will look through and see if it will work, and then they will actually test and bring a bus to test all of the logistics, time the traffic way ahead before our launch, just so we can make sure that timing is pretty accurate. And then in terms of marketing and public awareness, this is somewhat going on behind the scenes now, although once we have nailed down those components, we're going to start to see way more engagement and public awareness in terms of an aggressive campaign to make sure people know that the service is out there. So some of that is going to be happening, we hope, very soon. And then lastly, just wrapping the buses and other final logistics, securing a venue to officially unveil the new Tidewater Current. And with that, I want it open for discussions and questions.
Well, thank you, Avery. Questions, comments, ideas for for stops in Hampton Road. So we got 2 here. We got Eric. We got 3 already. But let's start down this.
What's the cost for us riding?
What's the cost going to be to the fares? Well, they haven't been established yet, so it really is going to depend on which location, how far you're riding. Okay. I want to say on average, you're probably looking at maybe $15 for some of the closer stops. If I had to guess, and please don't quote me on this, I would say it's going to be somewhere around probably $40 from Hampton Roads to get to the Shenandoah Valley. But that, again, is something, we will confirm with our operator. We sometimes have to meet their schedule based on what they have with their own rates, and then we sort of negotiate and find a happy medium that works for our customers.
Okay, second question, I'm going to say this in Norfolk. If you guys reach out to the mayor or city official for us getting a great location, I think Somewhere near Nautica's would be great.
Okay.
You spoke about downtown. I mean, towards Harbor Park and there towards Amtrak. I don't think it's a great idea, but I think if you can tap into Nautica's in that region, I think that'd be outstanding because you had the cruise ships coming in as well.
Sure.
So I think that'd be an excellent location if you can.
No, thank you.
So,
Definitely something we're looking at. We appreciate it.
Yes,
To
please.
piggy bank, is there going to be a discount if you buy a round trip ticket?
Certainly something we're looking at. We've talked about even a sort of a frequent flyer program.
Yes.
But we have not established that yet, but we are definitely looking into that.
That wasn't my original question. My original question was, what is the frequency? How often will it run?
Yeah.
And the second part of my question is the ocean front. Is this going to be all year round or seasonal? Because you think of winter, and once the beach season closes, that may not be the optimal place.
Sure. Yeah. So the thing that we've found with intercity bus is that it really has to be very consistent and reliable and always there for you. So what we have proposed for this and moving forward with is 365 days a year, bi-directional service. So you'll have one schedule that will go eastbound and one schedule that will go westbound. So definitely understand the seasonal part. We do have some passengers that really just utilize the Virginia Breeze for viewing the beautiful parts of the Commonwealth, but others that really may depend on it. So even though we have months of perhaps less or slower ridership than in peak seasonal time, I think that consistency, especially when we first launch, is going to be critical.
How much time, sorry, the last question, how much time would it take to come from that part of the world to over here?
Yeah, good question. Again, it's going to be finalized with our schedule, but I feel like we're looking at probably somewhere a maximum of about 6 hours from the start of the route to the end of the route. It just depends on exactly where those stops are, the dwell time, the boarding time. We like to focus as much as we can as close to the highway, reducing our boarding time and luggage and other things that passengers have to board as a consideration. So
Before I go to Gary and then Eric, quick question. So Avery, you got me thinking now when you said, you're 365 days a year, you're going to have an exiting bus and a return bus.
That's right.
And it might be too early to answer this question, but conceptually, if I lived in downtown Norfolk and I worked at Busch Gardens, could I jump on this service and get up there and work my day and then get back in the evening? Is that a possibility? Or
So I have heard some stories of folks that have made similar things work. It really, I'm going to probably just up front say no, I would not plan on that, but there are points of the route that they literally do for other routes that we have, that there is a midway point that literally people have done that, where they may just want to honestly ride, but they could, if they needed a few hours in one location, they could catch the route on the way back. So
if I can get to that transfer center, then I can get on the WADA bus and I'm in, yeah.
And I appreciate the question. One thing I just want to say is once we start really putting pen to paper with our time schedules, Matt's going to be getting multiple emails or calls from us. HRT, we're really going to try to sync this. It's not going to be perfect. You can't get it exactly right, meeting the train schedule and the route schedules, but we want to have a minimal wait time for all passengers. And it's going to be a high level, really in-depth view of everyone's schedules, not just our own.
Gary?
Yeah, quickly here. What's the ride experience going to be like? If I'm over in Roanoke and I'm trying to get to Virginia Beach, is that going to be a direct route for me, or I'm going to have to go through multiple transfers? And is that going to take me all day?
Right.
Et cetera. And then also, can I transfer between services? I get to Williamsburg and I want to get a Wawa. Is that possible?
Yeah, that's all great questions, and questions that we will be getting more of. We are definitely looking at a connection point, or a hopeful connection point in downtown Richmond to get folks another option to DC. However, the connectivity, It is to be determined once we finalize everything with that schedule, with what that looks like in our 81 connection. You mentioned Roanoke. So we're not going to rule that out, but there has to be a lot that lines up in order to be able to say that. I'm pretty confident that we can say that downtown Richmond connection to DC. So if you're traveling from Hampton Roads and need another option up, that we hope that that'll be there. The 81 connection is yet to be determined. So keep our fingers crossed.
So Eric, I know you had your hand up, and then I'm going to come to Peter.
It is, yes, sir. The one struggle that we have there is just that last mile. So we actually have met with the airport. They've agreed and would welcome us with open arms. We're just right. Okay. I can see what happened here. It was a scripted question, but honestly, we do have to think of all those factors, and one of the biggest ones that we're just trying to figure out to serve the collective whole would be that last mile from the airport. So if we did that, and which is why we're not laser focused on it right now, we would really just be serving those that are getting to the airport and not the rest of the Norfolk community, and that's a challenge. One thing we want to take in consideration.
So Peter, you had a comment?
Let me just tell you, as a professor emeritus of business administration, excellent brand name.
Oh, thank you. I wish I could take credit.
And the second thing is, for those of us who are old enough to remember, I'm playing now in my brain Robin Thompson's Sweet Virginia Breeze over and over and over again, because it's just it's just a beautiful, beautiful brand name.
Well, thank you. I credit our marketing team. Great.
Yes, man.
Every thanks. So for the connection, I presume most people are probably going to want to connect in Richmond on up. Can you give us a little more information on the success of the Virginia Breeze on the other routes? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I presume as you study this further, it might be that you have to establish another bus strictly from Richmond. Mm-hmm. As those connections are made.
Yeah, there's a lot of details I left out, but we have had a lot of success, especially along the 81 corridor, just because there really is no other option. The other 360, Route 15 into Richmond, then up to DC, so Martinsburg into to Richmond, wasn't designed to be the same performing route as our I-81 service, but it does serve that critical, racing region. So you speak about performance. We've really been experiencing somewhere around a 10% growth each year. We're collectively for the system. So we're thinking that this route will definitely have a lot of interest and will help to propel our ridership need upward as well. So we add buses, and that's one advantage that we have. High peak capacity. That's part of what we want in our contractor is when that bus sells out, we want to open up another one as best as we can to have another option. So we could see multiple buses potentially all leaving at the same time, depending on the demand in the season.
Avery, I know you got a lot of details to think about, but running 365 days a year, it would be interesting if the bus could align with the start of certain football games, college games along that I-64 corridor, right? I'm looking over at some UVA fans that are now over this way, and James Madison fans.
Well, I will say that route will stop right outside of Scott Stadium. So
okay,
and JMU, that's my alma mater, go Dukes.
All right, Dr. K.
This is actually a great segue for my question. Do you all have an advisory group that is helping to advise you on the routes and things of that nature, particularly that includes those Gen Zers, those 13,
sure.
20? I know the 13-year-olds are a little bit younger, but if you're looking at sustainability and looking at the long game, having some of those opinions from that Gen Z group may be beneficial.
Absolutely. Appreciate your question. And absolutely. So it's multi-part, but when we launched this study, we identified multiple stakeholders engaged in a survey. We really established our key contacts at that point, got the feedback of generally the communities that we're looking to that are in that need and that demographic based on census data to serve equitably. However, now that we're entering that next phase, we have our stakeholders identified and enacted. So we're going to be involving them sort of on individual stakeholder communication to make sure we're getting the right area locked in. So I mentioned, working with HRT, HRTPO, different community organizations, we're going to be doing a lot more of that, more on an individual locality basis to make sure we're getting the right fit for the bus stop.
Will that include some focus groups with the individual areas of not just Hampton Roads, but in the areas that you're looking to serve?
Yeah, I definitely think in terms of establishing an organized focus group, especially I mentioned the two areas that we're still really needing some feedback. We in Norfolk, hopefully Virginia Beach is coming a little bit closer, but I think that we're definitely open for any and all of that. So,
Any other questions? All right, well, Avery, oh yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I'm sorry again. What is your anticipated ridership? And will it be sustainable?
Yeah, in terms of what the study said originally, there were several changes. It would be hard for me to put a number on that. So let me get back to you on that. I'm not sure I have a number that I can provide you at this point based on some of the alterations, but yeah.
Well, Avery, thank you. I want to be certain we have an opportunity to get on to our remaining items on the agenda. But Avery, obviously a lot of excitement and interest. Please let us know at the TPO and RTAP how we can be part of this effort. As Dr. K said, if there might be focus groups, I think you might have a few volunteers here.
I was just thinking it looks like you have some focus group members here.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll be in
So
touch.
as you start to, I know you got to get through procurement, as you start to come down that funnel with some more detail, I mean, please use this group as that broad-based group that could maybe provide some input on some of these decisions.
Certainly appreciate it. Thank you
Thank you,
very
Avery.
much. Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, from here, we're going to move on to the Hampton Roads Transit Unified Fare System Study. I know we have our consultant team here. We have HRT representatives in the room, and going to have them come on up and give us a briefing. As a reminder, at the outset of this study, they gave us a great briefing on the goals of the study and what was to come ahead. So really excited to hear how things have been advancing.
Thank you. My name's Steve Florian with Hampton Roads Transit. Before we jump in, I'll just call out Hampton Roads Transit has their annual report that we put at your desk. So take a look through that. A bunch of good stuff there over the last year and looking ahead. But we'll go ahead and turn it over to Andrew Pease with the Arcadis Group to give us an update on our unified fare study.
Hi, everyone. Great to see many of you again. Any trick to getting this back?
Yeah, I think we're
Okay, sounds good. I'll wait a second. At any rate, I met many of you back in June when I was here before, talking about the Hampton Roads Regional Unified Fare Study. I'm with Arcadis. I'm the project manager for this effort on the consulting team, working with HRT, Suffolk Transit, and WADA. So I'm happy to be back to give you a quick update about what's going on with the project. So just a quick agenda. I'm going to be going over a quick recap of the project just to remind us all what we're working on here. I want to touch on what progress we've made to date, go over what we've completed and what our findings have been, talk about what we have going on right now in terms of ongoing tasks, and then talk about the next steps as well. So just a quick project recap, just to remind you. So this is an effort between all three agencies in the region. So we've formed a working group between HRT, WADA, and Suffolk Transit, and we're working consistently to talk about unified fare strategies and options for moving forward. And you can see the consulting team is led by Arcadis, myself as project manager. Just as a reminder, we have some leaders in the field of fare policy and fare technology helping us out with this effort. And then why are you all involved? So basically for a number of reasons, I want to make sure we coordinate with you and are informed by the RTAP as periodically as needed. So I want you to all remain aware of key project activities and milestones, provide periodic input about findings, parameters, and direction of the project, and just in general help deliver insights about regional needs and demands. And really this is why we're here today and why we were here back in June, wanting to interact with you whenever we can to get more details from you about how things are going and wanting to keep you up to date as well. And then moving forward, just having you act as an advocate for us and help to advance whatever we decide to put forward. So promote a defined regional strategy across constituencies, and then just helping to foster support and buy-in among local community leaders and decision makers whenever we do identify a fair unification scenario that makes the most sense and that we'd like to talk about more. So just want to recap the project purpose and goals. So really what we're doing here is developing or facilitating a study to identify strategies for unifying the fare policy, fare structure, and fare systems around the region, just to encourage a more seamless interagency transit trip making overall. And that's not only focusing on visitors to the region who may want to go from Virginia Beach to Williamsburg, for example, but also for the people who make interagency work trips on a daily basis, going between Williamsburg and Newport News to the shipyards, between Suffolk and Chesapeake to Amazon, FedEx warehouses, things of that nature. These are the types of things that people need on a daily basis. So the idea is to give them a more seamless travel experience overall and find ways to do that through fare payment. And in addition to that, we need to look at technological and institutional barriers that may exist. We've already done that. And really what we're doing is assessing what technical needs are associated with the strategies that we put forward. Obviously, we need to make sure that if we identify a solution that requires a certain type of technology, that not only HRT's riders have access to that, we need to make sure that the riders on WADA and Suffolk Transit all have those as well, since we're talking about trips that connect between three agencies. And then as a basic framework for this, we're ensuring that whatever alternatives we advance respect and ensure autonomy of the region's three primary transit operators. We're not talking about creating a brand new agency or something that links everyone. We don't want to rock the boat that much. The three agencies want to remain separate, but they do want to work together to formulate a way that people can make their trips easier and pay fares more easily. Okay, so progress to date. So this is just a snapshot of the main tasks associated with this fare unification effort. So you can see that we've completed the needs assessment and industry scan tasks already, and I'll be going over what the results of those have been and what those processes involved. Right now, we're currently working on developing fare policy alternatives and conducting a technology analysis in coordination with that. So that's going on through the next month, and then by the end of the year, we'll be meeting and having a workshop about what the final options might be, what the final results of our analysis is, and putting together a full report that we can share with you all in the future and talk about what the results are. So the needs assessment, so that's something we completed over the summer. We were just kicking that off back in June when we met with you before. I'm not going to get into all of the details shown on this, but I just wanted to give you an idea of the type of effort we went through. It's shown on this slide and the next slide. Basically what we did was we did a comprehensive evaluation of what is offered currently in the fare realm between the three different agencies. So looking at things like what the specific fares are currently offered, and also what the eligibility is for different reduced fare programs across the different agencies. And in addition, looking at fare collection policies, how fares are collected across the three agencies, and also what technology is available for riders of the three agencies. And so the reason we did this was, obviously whatever scenario we put together to try to unify different fares, we need to know, first of all, what the synergies and what the disconnects are between the three agencies that are operating in the region. So, for example, we wanted to think about how the fares line up, where they're similar, how different are the fares. Do some agencies offer reduced fare programs that other agencies don't? What technology is available on HRT versus Suffolk, for example, and what is the fare payment? How does the fare payment experience differ for riders moving from one of those agencies to the other? So we wanted to get a really clear picture of where those synergies and disconnects existed to kind of create a framework and foundation for moving into developing scenarios that would consider all of those and help people navigate that environment more easily. The second step that we completed was an industry scan. So really what this is an analysis of peers, transit agency peers or regional peers that we could look into and help gain a better understanding of how fare unification might apply in this region. So we split these up into two different categories, as you can see up there. There are statistical peers and aspirational peers. So the statistical peers we looked at, really these are the ones that the agencies in the region often look to for comparative purposes. These are agencies or regions that have similar populations, similar ridership levels, and things of that nature. However, once we looked at these, we realized not many of these really offered a lot of lessons learned in terms of fare unification because they don't really do that themselves. So we wanted to look at a longer list of peers as well so we could gain better details and more clear picture of what's worked and what hasn't worked in the fare unification realm. So that's where the aspirational peers come in. And you can see that the ones listed here they don't necessarily line up with Hampton Roads in terms of population or in terms of ridership levels. But the way they do line up is, first of all, they do offer examples of fare unification methods, and I'll get into that a little bit more on the next slide. But also, these are all regions that are made up of multiple, in most cases, multiple urban centers, similar to Hampton Roads, not just dominated by one. And even more importantly, these are areas that are served by multiple transit agencies that do work together to provide interagency trips, and in many cases have put together joint fare unification programs to try to help their riders. The three we've identified through the process as ones to evaluate further are highlighted there in purple. And on the next slide, I'll explain why in a little bit more detail. The three we identified and looked into further were Tampa Bay, the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and then Montreal. So for the most part, these are areas similar to Hampton Roads in that they have multiple urban centers, which makes them a bit unique and more comparable to this region than others. And all of the regions are served by multiple transit operators that need to work together in order to facilitate interagency trips, also making them a bit unique. And then all of them offer different fare unification examples. So there are kind of three major examples of what unified fare systems can look like that are in effect in the United States. And those are represented here by these three areas. So we thought it would be useful to look at these and get a good sense of what's worked and what hasn't worked for each of these regions and how that might apply to Hampton Roads. Really quick, you can see the three main categories we've included are using either an interagency app or a pass product to allow you to make a standardized payment method across different agencies. Other one would just simply be to allow free transfers interagency. So, you might only pay for the first agency you ride, but the next agency you board would be free. That's something that's done in the Twin Cities. And then a third option would be coming up with a whole new system of fares based on zones. So basically based on geography that would calculate your fare based on how far you ride. And that's something in effect, not only in Montreal, but in other cities in North America, but we use that as our example. So at any rate, this is the industry scan we conducted. And one thing I wanted to bring up, we did look at some examples from abroad as well. I remember back in June, someone here commented, it might be useful for us to look into examples in Europe, some best practices there. So we did that, and we looked at some other examples in Asia as well. And so really, even though we looked into these, the way that transit agencies are governed in those areas is so vastly different than here in southeastern Virginia that even though they provided interesting examples, they weren't quite as relevant as the North American peers that we focused on. So I wanted to bring up the fact that we did look at these. However, as a group, we decided not to advance them through the industry scan just because they weren't quite as relevant as the North American examples that we were looking at. Okay, and then just to touch on what we're working on now. So we finished the needs assessment, we finished the industry scan, and based all of that, we've gone into the process of identifying fare unification scenarios that we can analyze. So really the way we frame this is based on a general overarching trade-off between promoting rider seamlessness and promoting agency autonomy. And like I said before, making sure that the three agencies in the region remain autonomous from one another is a key underlying guiding principle of this. So that's not something we want to go against, but we also want to do our best to promote rider seamlessness. So we looked at a wide range of scenario alternatives and landed on 4 of them that we want to advance. And this diagram is kind of a basic way to show it. But you can see the 4 that we exampled are kind of in the middle. They're the more centrist options of the ones we looked at. You can see, for example, zone-based fares is not included here. And why? That's very far to the right-hand side of this spectrum. It promotes agency autonomy, but it's not very relevant to this region, especially based on the level of demand for interagency trips. So that, just throwing that out as an example, that's one that we've left out. And I also want to point out that this is a work in progress. So the 4 that we've identified here, we're not necessarily limited to this at this time. We are moving these forward into the assessment, but that's not to say we might make tweaks to this or add more. But the 4 that we're moving forward with for now are allowing free region-wide interagency transfers, creating a special interagency transfer fare that somebody would pay. So it'd be like a special lower transfer fare if they were to switch from HRT to WADA or Suffolk to HRT or something of that nature. A third one is creating a new type of fare media, which would be a regional transit pass. Could be daily, weekly, monthly, but would provide the rider an unlimited number of rides across the region, regardless of which agency they're riding. And then the 4th one would simply be the use of a regional transit fare payment app. What's unique about this one is it promotes agency autonomy the most because it doesn't really affect the agency's underlying fare structures. But what it would allow people is a standardized, seamless way to pay for those. So as long as everybody had access to the app, they could simply pay their fare. It would be separate from agency to agency, but they wouldn't have to worry about digging out, a certain quantity of money from their pocket each time they board a new bus. So these are the 4 that we're looking at right now. And then in addition to that, something else ongoing is a technology analysis. So in relation to the scenarios I talked about above, we want to focus on what technology is required for riders to actually engage in those and for agencies to actually operate and manage those types of policies. So this is going on in tandem with the overall assessment process. We're going to be looking at what technology is necessary to make systems compatible, any interoperability considerations related to the scenarios, and then payment media impacts. Do we need to create new forms of payment media? Do any of those not work in terms of the systems that the agencies currently have in place, et cetera, et cetera. So these are the types of things we're looking at. And then just to quickly touch on next steps. So we're advancing the fare unification scenarios into the modeling phase. That's what we're doing now. So we're in the process of evaluating all of this. We need to determine both quantitative and qualitative analysis results of the alternatives. So some of the quantitative examples are going to be cost, both capital cost and O&M costs related to the 3 agencies. We also want to look at cost to the rider, how any of these fare scenarios would affect the amount that riders would pay to ride a trip or to make a trip across multiple agencies. And then some of the qualitative analysis would involve analyzing administrative burden, analyzing rider ease of use, rider customer experience, things of that nature. So that's the kind of thing we're doing as we speak. And then as we also identify technology implications and technology needs related to each alternative, we're going to be coming back and working with our project team across the 3 agencies to have a workshop to talk about our findings with all of this and collectively come up with 1 or 2 examples that we would like to advance toward, finding as the most effective solution for the region and potentially eventually as a recommendation. That will go into building our final report. I'm sure at that point during your next meeting, we'll be sharing those findings and determinations with you all here at RTAP. And so we can circle back on it then and have a more in-depth discussion. And I think that's about it. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Any questions, comments? Yes, please.
My question is, I didn't see anything for paratransit.
For paratransit?
Yes.
So the focus of the study has been more about traditional fixed route and making interagency payments on the traditional fixed route system. Paratransit, we haven't really looked at that too in depth because it wasn't a part of the initial scope, but it's a really great comment. And I think it's something we probably want to bring up as a project team. So I can circle back with you on that if you
Because
like.
if you have a transportation system, you have to have equal access to the disabled community.
Right.
And you have to factor that in as well as where they would buy tickets and something that would be equitable and fair pricing that everyone can afford. My other question is, I'm sorry, when you come up with this system across the board, each cities has a different rating as far as economics.
Mhm.
And are you counting the communities and taking into consideration reestablished to fair, that it may be reflective of those communities that may not be as well off?
Yes, definitely. So that's one of the reasons why we're working with all 3 agencies across the board and making sure that we understand the needs within those 3 agency service areas. Because you're right, there's a wide range of socioeconomic characteristics across the region, and not only socioeconomic characteristics, but also in terms of people's ability to make electronic fare payments, people's access to technology, people's access to, people being banked versus unbanked, things of that nature. And all of that has to be taken into consideration when coming up with alternatives. So it's been a really important piece of this puzzle, understanding where those disconnects, I was talking before about synergies and disconnects, right? Like where those disconnects might lie between the 3 different transit agencies. Whatever we push forward, it needs to be something that can accommodate all of those rider types. And if something involves a level of technology that one agency, for example, doesn't have, or one group of riders don't have access to, we need to accommodate that somehow. So that's certainly a part of the conversation. And one of the reasons why we identified the 4 scenarios that we did for further evaluation. There were others on that list, but some of them were deemed basically ineligible for study because they weren't focused on equity enough. So if that makes sense to you. Okay, great, thanks.
I wanted to introduce the RTAP to someone who's attending his first meeting here today, but Marcellus Nixon is the executive director of our Southside Network Authority, who is working to build out a regional fiber network that will interconnect our entire region. And Marcellus, I listened to the technology and the opportunity here and maybe how the fiber network, as you work on it over the next 5 years, might play into this. Did you have any thoughts you might want to share with the group?
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity. I was sitting here, I take everything back to a connectivity scenario, right? So you mentioned that you were doing a needs assessment. Does your needs assessment include the technology requirements that it would take to make it work, over the next, the short term, the medium term, and the long term? Mm-hmm. What I see in this, being a network person, is not only do you need a fiber optic network that the incumbent providers may not provide today, but you also need wireless capability, both mobile and fixed wireless, to connect, the mobile devices that you should have around the system. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So we were focusing a lot on the technologies that are available to riders and what riders interface with. So basically, how are payments made today? Do people use their phone to make a payment? Do they have access to a smart card to make payment? Or do they literally dig change out of their pocket and pay that way? Or is it like, do they buy passes? Do they not buy passes? Do they hold a physical pass in their hand? Is their pass on their phone? There's a wide range of answers to all these questions across these three different agencies. So the focus of this study has been more about how to make basically a fare unification scenario work that accommodates all riders and all riders' ability to make those payments. But it sounds like what you're talking about is thinking of basically the technology structure in general and the long-term implications of that. Like if we suddenly have a lot more riders using technology on the buses, can the system support it and things like that? I'm thinking, is that kind of what you're going after?
Well, that's a part of it, right? But the main thing I'm talking about is you obviously have a workflow of how you want to see these things work, right? And I look at the technology, in particular the network, whether it's, like I said, a fiber network or the wireless piece, as an enablement mechanism to the system in which you're building, right? So
Sure.
You may think of it as, a bus or whatever it is, but it's not just about the people using technology while they're on the bus. It's about how the systems are giving feedback to, different areas of the network as a system. That's
Sure.
what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah, maybe you and I can touch base after this briefly, because I'd love to look at any considerations related to that we might have missed. Like I said, this has been really rider focused and policy focused, but if there are longer term technology related implications related to anything we want to advance, it'd be obviously important for us to account for that. So.
Yeah, thank you. And Andrew, and before I go to Stephen, I really encourage everyone, the three transit systems, please get Marcellus's card and pick his brain on this, because I think there's some really unique possibilities, and this network is coming to the peninsula, right, Marcellus? We're on our way. So the opportunity to connect, he's already in Suffolk. He's already going to be covering most of the south side. He's coming over to the peninsula, and the opportunity to integrate this with your transit work seems really exciting. But Stephen, did you?
Yes, just to reiterate, my name's Stephen from Hampton Roads Transit. We've been working very heavily on our mobile fare system, Go Mobile. So I know what you're describing. We over the past few years, we've had to increase and upgrade our on-bus cellular network to accommodate really the account-based systems and near real-time communication that's needed for these systems. So I know, WADA as well must, have that real-time network on the vehicles. As far as this study goes, I think that, again, highlights a little bit of the incompatibility or some of the needed improvements in some of the areas, really to have that communication network to allow us to do some of these items and have the flexibility to, have different payment solutions for something like a regional pass or just an HRT pass, and have, ultimately the systems communicate with each other. So.
Any other questions for Andrew or the HRT team? Well, fantastic. We look forward to continue updates and engagement.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate it. So what I'm going to propose, first, I will say that Noel from HRT, Noel Pinkert, and I were going to give a bit of a legislative update, but Noel's under the weather today. And to allow time for us to go around the table, here's what I'm going to propose. Our next meeting will be in December, at which time we'll be ready to talk about General Assembly engagement come January. So I think that would be the best time for that conversation anyway. So I'm going to propose we jump ahead to other business. Under other business, first thing I want to draw to your attention, and you all received an invite to this, but tomorrow is our Regional State of Transit Sustaining the Future event. It's being held from 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. up at the Hampton Roads Convention Center. And if you haven't registered, please contact HRT and they'll get you signed up. Yes.
I was informed that they sold out.
Sold out. Well, that's a great problem.
Yes.
So that's phenomenal.
Yes, registration is full, so that's
Very
a good
good.
problem to have. Thank you.
That's a really nice problem to have. So hopefully some of you got in line there and got your tickets. If you did, we will see you there tomorrow.
There's a wait list too, by the way. They said to just keep sending them in, and there's a wait list just in case.
All right. So finally, what I wanted to save time for is around the room. Why don't I go to my left? Maybe something you want to share about transit, maybe something you want to share about your organization or anything for the good of the regional table. So Pavitra.
Well, it's more procedural. I know some of you are taking photos of the presentations. All of these presentations are going to be on our website and uploaded. So just give us a couple of days and all of this will be available if you need some specific slides from the presentations.
All right. Wada, anything more?
You gave me time to up front, so I'm good.
Ben? Maria?
Just in Suffolk right now, we are working on getting artist submissions for a bus shelter art project. So we're getting ready to turn 4 of our bus shelters into artwork. We're going to start with our 4 that are kind of around our downtown Suffolk area. And then we will move out to the bus shelters that we have in other areas. So trying to get away from that glass-based, really fun to break kind of shelter to turning them into pieces of art. So we're really excited about that. We're hoping to start getting some of that artwork out in the next month or so.
Would it be possible for an upcoming RTAP meeting when you're ready just to share on how that goes and what we can learn from Suffolk? I think that's a fantastic idea. I know your technical welding school out in Suffolk, they did a little 757 bike rack for us out front there.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. We have right now we've got 2 pieces of art for sure for 2 of the shelters. We're working on securing 2 other ones for the 2 other shelters, but we're really excited to get this project underway.
Fantastic. And again, if you have nothing, it's okay, but I want to give everybody a chance. Going down the line, anything more to share? Linda?
Good afternoon. I just wanted to announce that our agency, Step Up Incorporated, celebrated October 1st, 50 years in business. So we're rolling into our 51st business, and we work with transit every single day.
Congratulations. That's great.
Other than just discovering I share a birthday with your organization, I don't have any updates from the city of Portsmouth.
Rob? Steve?
Yeah, we're working with DRPT for our fleet we do paratransit with Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia. Feasibility study to look at alternate vehicle fuel opportunities, both for our South Side and Western Tidewater operations.
Thanks, Steve. Joanne? Mark, anything happening at the airport, Mark?
A lot more would happen if we had a bus. 3,000 employment center, over 3,000 people. We need a bus stop, or we have a bus stop. We just need a bus. Wada, if you got full staff, you can be more than welcome to come on down.
If you give me the funding, I will run a direct route down to you.
Mark?
As a transit user of choice, I'm really happy to see things moving on a regional fare methodology where people can ride from one to the other without having to go through different vending situations. So thank you all for your work thus far and keep up the momentum.
Great, thank you. Coming around the table, anything else? Todd, why don't you, real quick, Todd is the new Deputy Executive Director of the Hampton Roads Transportation Accountability Commission. So welcome, Todd.
Thank you. Great to be here, Bob. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Before Todd was over at RTAP as their Deputy Executive Director, he was one of our go-to people at the VDOT District Office for construction of all these transportation projects. So great, well-working relationship with Todd, and Now he's in the building with us, so it's even better. Anything more to add coming up? Gary, anything more to add?
Yeah, quickly here. If you haven't adopted a bus stop, please do. Our fraternity organization has adopted a bus stop in Portsmouth, and it's a completely transformative action. It takes a stop that looks good into a stop that looks great. So if you're looking for a great service project that has a real change, please adopt a stop. Also, through our Cool Down, P Down project, I have trees. I have free trees. I have 1,500 trees. So if you need trees at your facilities or near your bus stops, etc., I got them. Trees and shrubs. Just see me. Thanks a lot.
Great. Thanks, Gary. Marcellus, anything more to add?
Yeah, just really quick. As Bob mentioned earlier, we are building a regional fiber ring connecting the 5 Southside cities together. In the next probably, I would say, year, we'll be extending over to the peninsula. And if I have my way, we'll extend all the way up to Richmond and then to Ashburn, Virginia, and then down to Atlanta. So if you have connectivity use cases that could benefit from having better data transmission or internet access capability, I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Marcellus. Anything more? Peter?
Chairman, once again, I was here for the PDC meeting yesterday and today's meeting. This facility and this staff and these people, this is the epicenter of what's happening in Hampton Roads, and it's impressive to see who is involved and what action is being taken. And I think there are a lot of exciting stories that need to be told more rapidly in our region for the work that's being done.
Thank you, Peter. I want to be certain staff team. Anything else that you all want to add? Any additional info? Whitney? All good? All right. Well, again, thank you, everyone. Always try to get you out of here within 2 hours, but I do respect and value your time. So thank you so much, everyone. Look for us to send out a notice for probably our next meeting to be in December. So have a great week.